Hi everyone, thanks for tuning this episode of Nick Egan Times. On this episode, we have a sensational guest. We have Andrew C. Fisher. Andrew C. Fisher is a US filmmaker and writer. Andrew has just released his new incredible latest project, Thanatos, which the first installment of the web series has amassed over 750,000 views on YouTube and counting. Welcome, Andrew, and thanks for coming on the podcast.
Thanks for having me.
You're welcome. How's it all been going over there?
In the States,
Yeah,
yeah, it's all right. Pretty good. It's cold in New York. Cold for me anyway, because I'm coming from Texas originally. So it's tough when it gets cold, but it's good. Things are going well.
cool. How long are you in New York for?
It's open ended right now, but we have a screening for Thanatos on the 26th of January. So gearing up for that, getting excited.
That's really exciting.
Yeah.
Incredible. All right, let's jump straight into it. Take us back. Tell us about your life story, how you grew up, where you grew up, and yeah, like your family, and how obviously the journey's begun for you.
Sure. All right. Yeah. I originally am from the Gulf Coast in Texas, around Galveston area. I so yes, like I grew up right on the water on the Galveston Bay, and it was just me and my mom for a while. Uh, you know, grew up in a working class environment, and my stepfather, who's been with us since I was 12, he great guy, and but they're both um, in the world of working in the factory is like the highest level, the epitome. That was a big break for my mother when she got a job at the local factory. So it's just in a working class kind of blue collar environment, and so it's not real encouraging of the artist lifestyle. I didn't have a lot of well, there wasn't money. By the time I was ready to go to college, there wasn't money for it. So I got a scholarship to go to this really small school in New York called St. Francis College, and I figured I'd go there, and I studied philosophy, but at the same time, I was doing acting classes in the city. I was interested in performance and figured if I can get a scholarship here, then I might as well go to that and try to learn as much as I can in the city. And did that for a while. And everybody's telling me that I should be in film and television. So and this was a while ago. So there were way less opportunities in New York at that time. And everybody told me to go to LA. So I went there, and I learned how to make movies in LA. I didn't get a whole lot of opportunities. I got more opportunities in New York, but LA, in many ways, it felt like doors were closed. But in some ways, I think that was a positive because it made it so I started in performance, and I got really tired of waiting around. I got tired of the kinds of things that I was doing. I wanted to work on stuff that was more significant. So I decided to figure out how to do it for myself and learn how to make movies. And then that, led to a bunch of different projects. And then I ended up back in Austin, and that is so that leads us all the way up to this project. I met Kasha in New York, and she was interviewing me because I was doing a screening in New York, and at the end of that, in a real casual way, she told me that her boyfriend said that she needed to find a sub because he was tired of getting his ball smacked, and that just set off my imagination. It was I thought, man, that's what an interesting situation. And what if, the person that you invite in to get their ball smacked, right? What if the two of them have a really strong connection and all the complications that arise out of that? And so then I shot that a short film in Austin, and Kasha was good enough to come down and do the short film, and then we released it online, and was really surprised by the response. It was, it was really, I've been doing this for a while. It was the first time that people outside of my friends and family were interested in what I was doing, and got a really great response from the kink community also, just that, and that was encouraging, just because they found it refreshing that it didn't feel like they were being exploited, that it was just people, a relationship movie or a relationship piece about people that happen to be into kink. So and so because of that, we were able to raise money to shoot more of it, and that's what I'm screening now. That's the latest screening is going to be the continuation of that.
That's terrific. That's incredible. How hard is it to make a film? Like, what's the logistics and I guess the background of it? Like, how hard is it?
It's hard. The hardest thing for me is getting talented people to come together and do the thing, get them all in the same place at the same time, and get them to commit to working on it. That is the most difficult. When you don't have a fire hose of money, that to me is the most difficult thing. There's been a lot of technological advances that I'm really grateful for. A lot of the costs have come down, but that's still the most. It kind of is a little bit of it irritates me a little bit whenever people talk about, you could just shoot it on your camera, your phone or whatever. And it's like, yeah, you could, but you really need somebody that knows what they're doing. And you're not, if you do it yourself, it's not going to look great. And who's helping you set up lights and all that. So it's, there's just, you need a team of people that all know what they're doing to really pull off something that looks good. And a lot of times those people are busy. So that'd be the most difficult thing.
That's great insights. When obviously you're shooting and they're doing it in those kind of situations, how does that get awkward, or like how do you, I guess, deal with it?
You mean like the BDSM stuff?
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, for me, for that first one especially, I really let Kasha take the lead in terms of, okay, well, how would this play out? She was our expert on set. And then for the continuation, it was her, and it was one of the producers that were there, just kind of letting us know what this is really how it goes down. And so, I mean, it's kind of like any intimate thing. You got to make sure that everyone in the room is respectful and that they're not making things weird. And if they are, then they need to get out of the room. But for the most part, I think we were all, it never got weird for me, and I didn't hear anything from anybody else. It's, but you definitely have to be with people that you trust. And I've definitely made things. I've just acted in things for people where, you make sure there's like 2 or 3 people in the room, because you don't need any more than that. And otherwise, if you have a grip over there that's just sort of gawking at everybody, then that makes things awkward. So if they don't need to be there, then they go. And
I get it. Yeah. You got to keep it professional.
Yeah, and not to say, it's not like it's not like any kind of stereotype. Grips are, very professional if you get the right one, and everything's fine. But yeah, I would say, you just got to keep it professional. That's the main thing.
Very enlightening. Tell me about the BDSM community, and what that means to you, what they mean to you, because obviously they're a high, I guess, audience for you.
Yeah.
What do they represent to you?
Well, I'll tell you, I mean, and in that first short, the character is similar to me, where, the character doesn't know very much about the BDSM world, and that's the way I was entering in. I was very interested. I tried to be respectful, but I didn't know much about it. And Kasha was really my entry in, and then through that short, there were people from my past that reached out to me that I didn't know they were into that world. And they were like, man, this is really great. I love what you did here. I want to get involved. How can I help out? And so I got to know a lot of people through that, and I felt really supported by that community. And they told me about different kind of social media kind of groups that they were involved in, that they reached out to, and some of those people who I didn't know them at all, they contributed to making this next installment. So overall, I've just felt really, really supported by that community, and really wanted to do right by them, and make something that they again felt like it's not exploitative. It's not, you're not just trying to like, titillate or anything. It's just people who are into this, who are dealing with their lives. And so there's that aspect. And then the other aspect is I've kind of dipped my toe into doing some of that, rope play and that sort of thing. And it's been, and I feel a little more confident saying it, because I talked to another guy that's big in the community, and he talked about it being a kind of therapy. I didn't know if that would be something that he that people didn't like, and maybe it still is, but for me it really feels that way. For me, if I'm getting tied up, it's like I'm having to deal with some stuff, and it's really pretty good. As long as you're in good hands, it's an intense experience, and it's something that's been really good for me to work through.
Wow, that's sensational. I guess how do you call it, niche or genre of type of film? Is that where you're headed? Like, is that where you see your future, like creating these web series and films?
I did this one because there was interest and support, and I'm interested in making more movies, and all different types of movies. And so, I want to do this as well as I can. And I think there's a fair amount of hunger for this kind of thing. Like I said, everyone always brings up, people in the kink community, like pretty much without exception, have brought up 50 Shades of Grey whenever they talk to me about this work, and how much they hated 50 Shades of Grey, and how much they prefer something like this. So I think that there's a little bit of a hunger for it, and that's part of why I wanted to keep making stuff and provide something, and see how much people respond to it. But I wouldn't say that this is just gonna be the only thing that I do. I mean, I really see this as a romantic dramedy, right? I'm just really interested in relationship pieces.
That's fantastic. Your trajectory I can see now is on a very high scale. So yeah, it's incredible. Well done.
Thanks.
What inspires you daily?
Say again?
What inspires you daily?
Oh, wow. I guess daily. I guess the biggest thing is wanting to provide something positive to my community. Man, it's such a great question. I just don't want to. I don't want to give any because that's so vague. But I guess what I'm trying to say is I'm looking for ways to make every environment that I'm in more positive, in whatever way that manifests itself. And And that's really the thing that's inspired me to try to keep improving, to try to keep getting better at what I'm doing, to be the best writer, performer, director. So yeah, it's that. It's what inspires me. It's the love of humanity and wanting to be a positive contribution to that. Even though I don't know, it sounds kind of cheesy or something, but I think it's true.
Well, I think that's fascinating and very impressive. A very impressive answer. All right. Tell me, what's the best piece of advice you've got, or the advice you've received so far being in the film industry?
I always hesitate for this because I'm not the because I think everybody's journey is different, and I think that if somebody was to look at me, they might say, well, who's that guy to give advice? But I guess if I could talk to myself as a younger man, I might say, you've got to stay really strong in what you want. Figure out just exactly what you want, and what are the steps that'll move you towards that thing. And every day be refocused on what is it specifically that you want, because otherwise it's just going to be other people that are getting what they want through you, right? And that could be fine, depending on, maybe you're just super content with that kind of situation. But I think if you're trying to be an artist, then you really have to get clear on your goals and always be working very, very deliberately and specifically towards those things.
Great answer. If you were 18 again and you could change anything, personally or professionally, what would you change?
If I could do it all over?
Yeah, so say you were 18 again and you could change anything. It could be personally, professionally, whatever. What would you change?
I'm so sorry. What was the first part of that?
If you were 18 again and you could change anything, personally or professionally in your life, what would you change?
Okay. 18, I would have gotten involved in the entertainment industry right away. I think that would have, because what I did was I went to college because I felt like I should, and I was getting a lot of pressure to do it, and I'm glad that I got that education. But if I could change the trajectory, I think that I would have gotten into the mix and started building community a lot earlier.
Cool. And what are the other future projects you're planning on working on?
Well, I'm often acting in other people's things. That's kind of varied. I'm always writing. I'm doing a lot of editing, but I'm writing my own projects, hoping to someday be able to get financing for those kinds of things, and doing a fair bit of editing mostly for independent film work.
Cool. Have you had any mentors in your career that have helped you?
For sure. Yeah. One of my biggest mentors is a guy in Austin that he was an actor in New York City, professional actor, and we connected because he saw a piece that I released in Austin many years ago, and it was just a few years ago that he goes, you're doing everything you should be doing, but you're in the wrong market. And he said, you need to get to one of these bigger markets in LA or New York. And it was really that push that motivated me to just because in Austin I was I was fairly comfortable, but I was spending all my money trying to grow as a filmmaker, and yeah, so he's a big mentor in my life. Yeah, I've had several. I mean, but
Superb. What are your passions and hobbies aside from, I guess, your busy life with what you're doing? What do you like to do if you've got downtime?
swimming is one of my favorite things. Love swimming in fresh water, big bodies of fresh water. Is Barton Springs is one of my all-time favorite places. That's in Austin. And then I swim in, a classic neighborhood pool too. Bicycle riding is another big thing for me. And then just getting out into hiking, getting out into the mountains as often as possible.
Cool. Andrew, thanks for coming on the podcast. I do appreciate it. It's incredible your work. Your future looks amazing. And yeah, thanks for coming on.
All right. Well, thanks for having me.
You're welcome.